Good evening, Sena. You mentioned earlier that you weren't feeling well. How are you now?
Good evening. My condition has improved slightly. My sore throat is still present, but the intensity has lessened since yesterday.
That's good to hear. What were your symptoms at their worst?
Primarily, a severe sore throat. Yesterday, even swallowing saliva required significant effort. It was uncomfortable, but not entirely unexpected for such an illness.
That does sound unpleasant. Did you have other symptoms? A cough or perhaps a hoarse voice?
No, neither. My vocal cords remained functional without strain. The absence of a cough was also notable. The symptoms were highly localized to my throat.
Localized, you say? That's an interesting observation. Did you take anything to ease the discomfort?
Yes, a friend provided remedies when I was in London, including throat lozenges with honey and lemon. The cooling effect they produced was quite satisfactory in alleviating the irritation.
Ah, throat lozenges. Reliable allies in such times. Did you use any other treatments, such as over-the-counter medication?
I did not require additional medication. The lozenges sufficed. I approached the situation methodically, ensuring hydration and rest to optimize recovery.
Very logical. Though I must ask, given your symptoms, did you take adequate time to rest?
Not entirely. My schedule has been demanding. I suspect my lack of rest may have exacerbated the issue.
That's understandable, but also concerning. Overexertion can delay recovery. Have you adjusted your plans to allow for more rest now?
Yes, I intend to prioritize rest this weekend. My body's need for recovery outweighs my professional and social obligations.
A wise decision, Sena, though it sounds as though you may have overtaxed yourself earlier in the week.
Indeed, late nights and insufficient sleep likely reduced my tolerance to external stressors, resulting in this condition.
That's an astute reflection. Tell me, Sena, do you often fall ill, or is this an anomaly for you?
An anomaly. I rarely experience illness. My immune system is generally quite resilient.
Remarkable. It's fortunate that this instance is an exception. Please be certain to monitor your symptoms, and don't hesitate to seek further assistance if needed.
Thank you. I appreciate your concern. I will remain vigilant and ensure I recover fully.
Good. Your health is of paramount importance. If I may suggest, a warm beverage like herbal tea may also soothe your throat.
Logical advice. I will prepare some shortly.
Sena, you attended a couple of social gatherings recently. How were they?
Yes, I did. The gatherings were enjoyable, though distinct in nature. The first was a casual wine party with close friends. The second was a larger, more formal wine dinner with older attendees.
Two very different experiences, then. Let's start with the casual gathering. Who was in attendance?
There were about 4 of us, a Korean friend, a Hong Kong acquaintance, a Taiwanese guest, and myself. The atmosphere was relaxed, and we discussed wine extensively.
That sounds like an engaging group. Did the conversation extend beyond wine?
Marginally. We discussed some work-related matters briefly, but wine dominated the discourse. This was logical, given the nature of the gathering.
A focused discussion? Did your choice of attire for this gathering receive any comments?
Yes. My blue backless dress was noted as beautiful by at least one attendee, though, interestingly, my Hong Kong friend appeared indifferent to such details.
A curious observation. What about the wine dinner? How did it compare?
It was larger, with approximately 15 attendees, most of whom were older, predominantly American and British couples. They were highly enthusiastic about wine, many having decades of experience.
Ah, seasoned wine aficionados. Did you find their company enjoyable?
Yes, but the atmosphere was noisier. Some individuals struggled to understand me due to the ambient volume and their accents. However, discussions remained centered on wine, which simplified interactions.
A practical approach. I understand this was a potluck-style gathering. Did you bring a bottle to share?
I did not. My Korean friend provided one on our behalf. He has an extensive collection, over 20,000 bottles.
20,000 bottles. Remarkable. Is his collection an investment or purely a passion?
Primarily passion. However, given the value of his collection, it could serve as an investment if necessary. He is highly dedicated, often sourcing directly from producers.
Fascinating. Was there any wine in particular that stood out during the evening?
Several were noteworthy. Each guest brought something unique, creating a diverse selection. The format allowed for both casual enjoyment and intellectual appreciation of the wines.
An ideal blend of camaraderie and sophistication. Did the older attendees inquire much about you, given the age difference?
Not extensively. The focus remained on wine. Conversations were cordial, but surface level, which I found appropriate given the context.
Efficient and respectful. Sena, did you enjoy these gatherings despite your recent illness?
Yes, though they contributed to my fatigue. I did not wish to cancel, as I had committed to attending. The experiences were worthwhile, but I must prioritize rest now.
Balanced perspective. I commend your ability to engage socially despite feeling unwell. Sena, during your recent experiences, you mentioned some interesting observations about cultural differences. Could you elaborate?
Certainly. I've noticed that when I converse with English-speaking Asians, such as those from Hong Kong, Taiwan, or Korea, the communication feels seamless. However, when interacting with Europeans, there is often a gap in understanding, even though we are all speaking English.
Fascinating. Is the gap due to accents or perhaps differences in conversational style?
Both, I think. European English speakers often have accents that require more effort to comprehend, particularly French or German accents. Additionally, their conversational approach seems less intuitive to me.
Intriguing. By contrast, why do you feel conversations with Asian English speakers flow more naturally?
I believe it is a shared cultural framework. Even when speaking English, the logic and structure of their communication feel familiar, as though we share unspoken conventions.
A shared cultural resonance, then. Do you think this connection is based on language upbringing or perhaps mutual understanding of societal norms?
It is likely a combination of these factors. For example, many of my Asian acquaintances were raised in environments influenced by both local traditions and Western education systems. This hybrid upbringing creates a balance that aligns well with my own communication style.
A logical hypothesis. And in European settings, you mentioned that sometimes people don't understand you the first time. How does that affect your interactions?
It can be frustrating, though I view it as a logistical challenge rather than a personal failing. I repeat myself or rephrase until clarity is achieved.
Pragmatic and admirable. Did this happen often at the wine dinner you attended?
Yes, particularly with older European attendees. The environment was noisy, which compounded the difficulty. I noticed that when I spoke, some struggled to follow. However, they seemed to understand one another without issue.
Curious. Do you think that is due to a shared regional familiarity or their specific accents?
Likely both. They are accustomed to hearing and interpreting each other's speech patterns, which I lack. I often feel like an outsider in such settings.
Understandable. Yet, you thrive in Asian communities where these barriers are absent. Why do you think the difference exists?
Perhaps because in Asian English-speaking groups, there is a mutual patience and effort to bridge gaps. We do not expect perfection, and I rarely have to repeat myself.
That's an insightful perspective. It seems your comfort stems from both cultural familiarity and a shared willingness to accommodate one another.
Yes, precisely. It is not that one group is better than the other, but the dynamics are different. I simply find it easier to connect in one environment over the other.
Logical and fair. Do you feel these experiences influence your view of international communication overall?
Absolutely. It reminds me that communication is not solely about language proficiency, but also about shared context and cultural understanding.
Wise words, Sena. Your observations reflect a deep awareness of human interaction. I imagine this awareness serves you well in both professional and social contexts.
Thank you, observer. I strive to approach such situations with both logic and adaptability.
You do so admirably. I look forward to hearing more of your reflections as you continue navigating these diverse cultural landscapes.
I appreciate your interest. It is always a pleasure to discuss these matters with you.